Bonjour, Mishko Pokemon Quain Edition Cosmongdodam. Hello, everybody. It's Sandy Boucher here once again. I'm Red Thunderbolt Woman of the Loon Clan, a proud member of Seine River First Nation in Treaty 3 territory in Northern Ontario, and I'm coming to you today with the latest episode of the Path podcast. And once again, like always, this is going to be one of those lightning bolt moments. And if you haven't heard my podcast before or you're not sure what that means, my name, Mishko Baganankwe, I am said to represent that split second in time when the thunder sounds exactly as the lightning strikes. And for anyone who lives in an area where there are thunderstorms, you know that when those two things happen together, that means the storm is directly overhead. The further apart between the lightning bolt and then the thunder, the further away the storm is. I'm directly overhead. And I explain to my audiences that means I'm not known for being subtle, but honestly, and most importantly, I do not do that to be disrespectful. In fact, I do it to be incredibly respectful of your time and journey. The reality is, this talk of reconciliation has been going on for a while, and we gotta start getting it, because non-Indigenous baby steps are not helping. And Indigenous people are still suffering while non-Indigenous enjoy the privilege of being able just to take baby steps because they're more worried about their comfort than our pain. See what I mean by lightning bolts? So today I'm directing a lightning bolt at cultural awareness training, and I want to be incredibly specific here. What I mean by cultural awareness training is all of those non-Indigenous entities that want to sign up and hire someone to explain to them why we as Anishinaabe or as Indigenous people, why we smudge, how we smudge, or what's the sweat lodge ceremony, or what are the sacred medicines. No, hard pass. Enough with the cultural awareness training for so many reasons. So first and foremost, you have not earned the right to know our most sacred teachings. I repeat that. You have not earned the right to access that knowledge. You do not get to cherry pick what you think is neat about our culture and our practices and our traditions. And I know when people reach out to me, for one, I don't do cultural awareness training unless you're someone I know and trust. None of your business. Two, it doesn't help. It does not help. You understanding why we smudge is not going to help with your Indigenous engagement efforts. It is not going to explain to you why we found your poster offensive. It is not going to explain to you why your client ghosted you, because I guarantee you, I hate to tell you this, but that person didn't ghost you because they just didn't care, or because something happened in their world, or because they were just being lazy, or whatever excuse you came up with. They ghosted you because something happened, something that offended them or made them uncomfortable, and because you had not built a relationship, they didn't know how to tell you, or worse, they weren't sure you cared. They weren't sure it would make a difference. That's why I don't do cultural awareness training. I do Indigenous engagement training. I share an Indigenous perspective so you can understand why what you just said is offensive, why the term you used is offensive. And anyone out there who's thinking political correctness, that's not it at all. There are so many terms and phrases out there that are offensive, have always been offensive. The difference is Indigenous are now empowered enough to say, excuse me, not appropriate. So I explain those things to people. Now, I just want to be crystal clear here. I love the fact I have so many friends from so many cultural backgrounds. I have Jewish friends, I have Muslim friends, I have Christian friends, I have atheist friends. For the people that practice their culture, I don't know how they do it or why they do it, because I don't need to be able to work with them, to be respectful. It is none of my business. If they wanted to share that with me, that's absolutely awesome, but I'm sure as heck not asking them about it, because that's like asking someone their most intimate secrets. You have not earned the right. So what I want you to do, if you're non-Indigenous listening to this, you need to learn about Indigenous engagement. You need to learn, and I'm not talking about the 7-hour history lesson. Yes, of course, it's good to understand what happened to us, but more importantly, as a non-Indigenous person, unless you have taken tons of Indigenous engagement training, I guarantee you that when you observe an Indigenous person, if you are anywhere near an Indigenous community, or God forbid, you've seen any kind of Indigenous person on the 6 o'clock news, I guarantee you're misinterpreting the challenges you might see. That's what Indigenous engagement training will change. You will finally see the same things, but understand what it really is, where it's coming from, and how to change things in a positive way. So, you don't know why we smudge? That's okay, you don't need to. You don't know what a sweat lodge ceremony is? That's okay, you don't need to. You're curious about those things? Not important. That is the definition of white privilege. Just because you're curious doesn't mean you get to know. If you wouldn't walk up to someone in a restaurant and expect them to share with you their sexual history. Why? Because it's incredibly personal. And so are our ceremonies and traditions and teachings. So how about instead, because humility is the eternal bridge builder. Don't know if you've ever been told that. But if you come to Indigenous people with questions rather than answers, you have a way better chance of building a bridge. So instead of asking us why we smudge, instead ask us, do you have any need for our services? This is what we do. We think we might be able to help, but what do you think? Did you hear the humility in that? Because we're not a case study. We're not something you need to investigate. We are someone you should get to know, because we are literally right here. So I hope you jump on this train with me. No more cultural awareness training. It does not help. And if you're taking the training, I really hope that you're taking it because you want to help this country closer to reconciliation. That it's not just some elective that you've chosen. Until next week, I hope you enjoyed that lightning bolt. Remember, no more cultural awareness training. What you need is Indigenous engagement training. And there are many, many offerings out there. Employers, you need Indigenous engagement training. Supervisors, you need Indigenous engagement training if you are supervising Indigenous people, because I guarantee you're misinterpreting what you see. Customer service, you're serving Indigenous people, you definitely need Indigenous engagement training. We've been taking training forever. We, Indigenous people, have been offered training forever on how to work with you, the non-Indigenous. It's about time we start working on the other side of the feather. That is the only way to build a bridge. I hope that made sense. If you have questions, send me an email, sandy@sandyboucher.com, SANDI@SANDIBOUCHER.com. Until next week, I love you. Take care. Bye-bye.